Hey everybody, Zed Pugh here. We're going to do Terrain Tuesday. Sorry I'm late. You can blame it on Justin.
What? What?
What?
How is this on me?
Well, it's not going to be me.
Oh, okay. Well, in
No,
that
it was
case,
my fault.
My bad.
I got tied up. I guess, the usual. I got all the usual excuses.
I actually just found the button
I'll
to
just
go
pick like
live.
2. I'll use excuse 3 and 9 to keep it odd.
Okay, I'll use 7.
All right. So I hope everybody's having fun. I hope everybody's having a good day on their Tuesday. I'm seeing a lot of stuff. I like Coffee Nerder Beer. His thing. I'm glad you went and got some stuff. You'll get to play with it. I actually use it quite a lot for all sorts of fun stuff. So today we're going to play with doing some snow on some bases, kind of a thing. This is a way behind project. I was supposed to have this ready for Josh's January and I guess February. But anyway, we're caught up. And so anyway, what I've got here, let's just go over real quick before I get started in theory. We've got some baking soda. Now, the reason I like the baking soda is and I'll just pour some in here, it's got more of a granular effect. One of them does. Is this one it? I don't know. Yeah. Or that's the powder. And one has a little bit more powdery effect.
Wait. Coffee said her with an asterisk.
Oh, her. I'm sorry.
It was coffee. Oh, I actually missed the first part of that because I was adjusting the camera.
Oh.
Is coffee a girl? Is that what I'm taking from this?
I guess. I'm still working on all my pronouns.
Well, that's fair.
If I make the wrong assumption, I'm sorry.
Just want to make sure we're on the same page.
All right. So, as we can see, do the down camera.
All right.
Okay. Now, when you're doing snow, and we'll see if we can get it in here. Oh, it's just bad. There we go. This was the actual baking powder, and it's got a really good powdery texture. And then this is the soda, and it's also got a really good sort of powdery snow, but it's got a little bit more crystalline. And so in the past, I've played with it. If you're going to build a diorama, and this is for your painting and things like that, you're as I keep saying, and I'll always say it, is the diorama, the part you put around the figure that you've painted needs to enhance what's happening, not detract from it, but it can detract from it by actually being too complicated and too overworked, unless that was your intent, or it can detract from it from just not looking natural enough or well executed. So it could, but it also will sort of adjust the mood of the person when they're looking at it. So if you're wanting something that's cold looking, it's a vampire or something, whatever those kind of scenes, then you're going to want something that looks, it's got some crunch, that's got some more snow. I'll show you how we'll do some ice in a little bit. That's what I've done in the past and play with it with glue and stuff, and how we'll play with that. And then that's one way. And then you can also, too, the texture you go with. Sprinkling on the powder very lightly and not disturbing it gives it that, little fairies sitting in the tree, first snow, here it is, completely undisturbed. That's one emotion. Then the other emotion is it's been trotted on, there was a battle here, you might see blood, and you want it to look very, very cold and removed. And that's where you'll add some elements of just like what you're used to seeing in your front yard when you trot on it and things like that. So, anyway, to get going today, now I've gone ahead and added, now, first off, we'll go over the other stuff we have, and that's this stuff here. This is what she went out to get from Home Depot, was the all-purpose sheetrock kind of a thing. There we go, I'll put it this way. Now, the reason I like this material is we're not going to sand it. When you go down there, you'll see a lot of sanding warnings, and it will generate a lot of dust. And if you've ever been in a house where they're doing drywall work and sealing, leveling the walls, yeah, there's a lot of dust, so you need a mask. Now, we're just using it as a material to build with, so you don't really need the mask because we're not going to sand it or anything and create any dust, hopefully. Now, obviously, if you use it and come down that road, that's a different equation. So in here, it'll always stay, let me get over here, like this. And it's got sort of, as you can see, it's got a chalky, granular kind of a thing. It's not, there's nothing really much about it either way. It's easy to work with. But once you get it, and once it's exposed to air, it just air's dries, you don't have to put it in an oven or anything, it turns to this, like this. This is what I did last week when we had Ann on the show real quick. I put that on there as an advertisement, okay? It turns into a really hard, sort of flaky kind of material. And you can do a little scraping on it, but it'll definitely pick up and hold all of your paint, things like that, absorb it, stuff like that. So as we're seeing here, it comes off of these bases real easy, which is honest, I'll be quite honest with you, I didn't expect that to happen. So if that's the case, we're going to have to put a few things in this base to sort of grab those features. But it really depends. Now the way you apply it too, this material, I'll usually make it sort of thick, and it's designed to build up just the ground. All ground is not going to be just perfectly flat as you're going to walk across it. West Texas it might be, certain parts of the world I'm sure are, but what we're dealing with, we want some character. We want to talk about it. So rather than do it and sit, now normally what I would do is I've got several of these here. So what I would normally do is go, and we're going to show you all of the techniques that we would be playing with here, but we can't wait and do the final thing because it would just take time. So, as an example, we'll start with, I'm trying to think here, we'll build some stuff. So, you can try all this stuff out. Let me make sure I've got the right side here. And just put it on. You can use, like as I'm using here, this stick. This will work. I also bought a cheap sculpting set here of plastic ones that you can get. And obviously you'll be using the small one, but you know, you never know how big your table might be and stuff like that. For what we're doing, a stick works well.
So out of curiosity, Ed.
Yes, sir.
If that stuff does come off, is there a way to stop that from doing that?
Yeah, don't pick at it. No.
Just don't pick at it.
No. First off, put it on thin and in thin layers. And if you are going to build something up, you would drill and pin it. The pinning would help.
I see. Could you score the base if you wanted to? Would that work or no?
Probably that would give it a little bit more teeth to dig into. Anything would work. But you saw I was picking at it pretty hard, and that is a pretty smooth surface. So, but when you're thin like this, the fact that it sort of connects to everything around it would also help it. I'd have to start picking at it and wanting to clean the whole thing off. So,
don't worry, Pendrake. We actually just started.
Yeah,
you're catching the beginning. Also, RTB is for the pro tips with Ann. That's not Ed's show. Which this is Terrain Tuesday.
Yeah, Terrain Tuesday. So, anyways, you can see I can sit down and get a layer on. And in this particular case, I'm using one of our what we call our game bases. They have a slight lip. Several of them do. I think the RPG bases don't. But both the others, they're rounded and stuff. But anyway, you can use that lip to cut off a nice edge around it to keep everything all clean. So, as I've got this, now you need to sort of figure out what you want to do. And where you want to place stuff. So what I went and did last week was go outside and pick up some just stuff. We've got junk everywhere outside. So I want to find old wood. And in stones, when you're looking, it's really good to have really rough stones if you want that. But if these are going to be stones like around a campfire, which might be what we could sort of play with here, you're going to want smooth ones because people aren't going to drag over something that's really rough to then in turn sit on and tell stories. When you're finding your wood and chunks of wood, you need to sort of also think back like this wood here could be broken off into scale, okay, to what we want. We want a small piece here and we want a... So now I've got a piece of wood. But some of the things when you start using this to watch out for, depending on the subject of what you're building, this has a machined look to it. It's been, it's a nice square. You're not going to find that in nature. Also, too, the shattering is too clean and precise, like the way I did it at least. So out there, I found out I don't know what it was. It was just some dry wood pieces. It's got a lot of character to it. I'll be able to play with it. It was probably based on that, a little bit of what I was looking at. Some board that had been left there for a long time. I found one piece in particular I really liked, which was this one. Let me get it to the focus zone. It's got some really heavy splintering to it that was just, I thought, sort of unusual in that sense. So when you're out there, you're doing that. Now, this is where you could do, really depending on what you want to do, you can drill and pin. If I was going to drill and pin, I would have done that beforehand, kind of thing. But anyway, you could do that. Now, to get this stuff to stick, you've got two options. So if I'm going to put some wood on, let's say before, because this stuff I've got some working time. So I'm going to want a log, and I'm going to want the log right there. Now, I could just mush it in and hope it stays. And odds are it's not. So then what I would do is the next thing would be is just to scrape some of this off. And
Also,
we're going to go in and super glue it.
Shadow asked if you could use spray glue or mixing PVA into the compound.
Yes. Yes, that's exactly what we're getting ready to do. Oh. If I can find my paper towels. Where happened to the paper towels?
They're to your left right there underneath.
Oh, everything's to my left under the underneath.
Yeah, that's the primary table.
Yeah. All right. Let me get some of these.
Also, it's okay, Pendrake. It's just not a problem. I mean, eventually all of the shows will have their own specific commands for what we're doing, but since the information often changes.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, that's fine. That was it.
So anyway, I'm going to want to put as an option, oops, that's what I get for using scrap, balsa wood. Scrape some down And then I'll just put it on Justin's carpet.
Wait, did you just toss that actually?
No, I didn't. Don't worry.
I don't believe you. I'm looking for it.
No, what I'm looking for is the super glue. I said this didn't pull it out.
Let's say I think there should be some in there.
There
If not, I
should
can
be.
go get some.
Well, hold on. Let me pull out my highly organized tool chest here. So what's wild and exciting in everybody's world? Besides the virus, we all get that news.
Also, you can't say the C word
What's the C word?
associated with the virus.
Oh, I was going to say, because it's the other C word, I don't say that anyway. But anyway.
No,
Okay.
I'm talking about, because apparently
Yes.
there are YouTube channels being demonetized for saying it.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, I don't know.
So
I follow it. We're taking it very seriously here. We've already enacted several steps for workstations, spreading people out, things like that. We're not going to ignore it at any means.
oh, the camera
But
shifted.
did it really?
Yeah, lift it.
Sorry,
Yeah,
sorry.
you want to move that for me? Thank you.
All right. So,
Ooh, Pendray got a free Whataburger today.
did you really? It's a good place.
Oh, I started a workout regimen and new diet Monday, and I'm already miserable.
Well, yeah, you're only like a month, 2 months too late. You're supposed to do that January 10th, not
Why is that?
March 10th. Because that's when everybody does it. Your New Year's resolution.
Yeah, but that's when the gym is overcrowded. I don't want to do
Oh,
that.
that's very true. Because, yeah, during January and February, gyms are packed.
Super
You are right
packed.
there. So I have a couple options. If I'm going to glue something on, is an idea. Let me find something small here. And I decide I want to put that rock there. Then what I would use, let me find, I want something a little bit more of a flat surface to it, is I would just use the super glue. Okay? And in so doing, we all know how super glue works. So we can just drop some there, put that there, and whenever it dries, it's done. And we don't have to worry about it, but it'll dry pretty quick, and I'll show you we'll put some more material around it and things like that. This, on the other hand, is not something that super glue is going to like. Excuse me. It's rough. It's porous. All of the things that super glue hates. So there we're going to use our, I call it almost PVA, things like that. And there's two types to play with here. If I'm building stuff, this is what I was using like on the trebuchet. It's got a yellower tint to it, and it does dry faster. But it is yellow. Now this will dry a little bit longer, and it takes longer to dry, but it's white. So depending on what we're doing and how we want to do it, this is also what I make my ice out of. So what I would do here is, let me see. I wonder if he's even opened this bottle.
Hey, Pendrick, do you want to describe what it's like to eat a Whataburger for me? Like, I'll vicariously experience this.
You've never had a Whataburger?
No, I have. It's been 2 days.
You don't think that's being a little creepy?
No, it's not. Not at all. It's been 2 days, Ed, of dieting. I need a Whataburger.
Oh, the dieting part of it.
Yeah. What did you think? I think I was just being creepy to be creepy.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. That's fair.
Okay. So obviously we can use the PVA, we can glue it in. This will take some time for it to air dry out, but since it's soaking into the wood. Nature also grows, something to remember, grows in angles, and it doesn't grow in nice linear shapes, so we've done that. We could add to it, we can play with it. But let's go now back to finishing this stuff up. It's set a little bit, and even though it's set here, as you can see, it's still doing what it's doing. It's still soft and tacky and things like that. I don't know what its drying time is, 30 minutes, 45 minutes, something like that. You don't have to be too pragmatic with its pattern. I don't even know what I just said there.
I mean, practical would
Practical.
be interchangeable.
Yeah. Dramatic. Depends
actually-
on what
it works.
wood would be. And then generally what I'll do is a lot like what you'll see at the drywall, the texture people, is I'll go in and I'll agitate everything, and I'll just come back across real lightly. And all I'm doing is making very subtle. At this particular case here, we're just making very subtle shapes or subtle impressions, things of this nature.
I actually am
So.
super unpopular opinion, Ed.
Yes.
I actually don't really care at all for Whataburger. I don't. I place it in the same boat as McDonald's as far as places I'll eat.
Dude,
I
we're
know
still going to
that's-
kick
that's-
you out of.
That's blasphemous. I know.
Yeah, we're going to. Yeah. Uh-huh.
I
don't-
agree with Rings Raccoon. Brahms is much better.
And see, I found Brahms to be good, yes, but you have to be at the right Brahms.
Oh, that's true.
I've run across good Brahms and bad Brahms, but I have never run across a bad Whataburger.
Oh.
I've always found to be very, very consistent.
I mean, when you set the general bar really low, it's easy to meet that little bar. Got him.
Okay, now we're going to set that aside and let it dry. Now I need some brown, and I was too forgetful to bring some brown. So what we're going to do is make a quick brown. That's the way direction I want to go.
John is actually correct. I did used to work at Brahms.
Did you really?
I did. I worked there for like 2 months.
Oh, is that why you like them?
No. I like them because I think their food, and generally speaking, they're vertically integrated. Everything they cook with and they use, they literally grow in their own farms in Oklahoma and they make.
Oh, wow.
They're super vertically integrated.
That's good.
So that's, I think, why the quality is so good. But no, I worked there for 2 months. It was okay. But they give you, when you work there, they give you this little like card you can spend for future paychecks. So you can eat yourself into debt and have to work it off for months.
Oh, man.
And they won't cut you off, by the way.
Oh, so it's like almost indentured servant by burger.
Yes. And
Oh,
I used it to buy all my groceries at my first apartment, actually.
That's rude.
It was an experience.
It probably needs some more.
So what are you doing here? What's this?
I'm going to make sort of a dark, mushy, muddy brown.
Oh, and you mixed it with super
Just
glue?
some black and orange.
Okay, I got you.
It's going to stay more orange than I needed, but it also just sort of, because what we'll look at, and I'll show you that in a second, because we're going to be covering the bulk of it up with the snow. Oh, that's what I need. Text, since Collins is out of town, we sent Collins to go die.
He was on the stream this morning, and I asked him if he had been kicked in the balls yet. Apparently that has not happened.
Good. I need a can of Dull Coat. Can I tell you where one is?
I'm trying to think. I actually think there's one in his office.
It's down in my office, yes.
Oh, yours too. Okay, cool.
Well, there's a box in front of my office, or just inside my office, a large box. And inside of there would be a Dull Coat.
All right. Well, then if I don't come back, you know how to turn the stream off, right?
Yeah, right. Yeah, just take my mic off and walk away.
Oh, good. So if you guys are watching an empty studio, you know why.
Yeah. So he's going to go off and do that. Now, what we're going to do here, now the objective of this particular exercise is I'm going to show you how I at least do some ice and snow. And I'm going to go ahead and cover it all instead of just doing spots, because we might even come back with this and finish some of these up next week. Okay, that should dry pretty quick. Put that over there. There's that. Now, we need a fire. I was going to get this primed up and painted. Oh, I use that right there. So this was out of a pack. Y'all saw me open it. Let me see where the card is in case somebody goes to look for it. Right there. It's the Hearth 77617. It comes with several pieces, this being the centerpiece, but I don't need that. That could be used for any number of other things. This, I'm just going to need a fire if we're going to have a fireplace, or a fire to melt our ice. So, news around here while I'm painting, and maybe we'll have some pictures of it or a video on Reaper Live, is we got a new paint labeling machine in. Or we had a much older technology, and like about 20 years old. And so there's a lot newer stuff out there, so we just replaced all of our paint machines, or paint labelers. Now this is the first step in, and I guess this will be, y'all get to hear it. The next step after this, we use a thermal labeler, and there's all sorts of reasons why we ended up having to do that. It wasn't by choice initially. But anyway, what we'll be doing is now going to a pre-printed label that'll be in color and do all these things like it should have been, or like it was years ago. So while that's going, then we have, this is a version of another one. So we get something on the base. I do like And we've had a lot of great feedback with what Josh does on the Miniatures Monday. So I do believe we're going to go back and at some point I'll start building these and designing these to have we can go get what we want. Let me read on this real quick, if it's got a drying time, before I sit down and keep playing with it. Ingredients. 50 grit. Well, they're saying drying time to allow approximately 24 hours. Well, we wouldn't wait that long anyway. But you could do that in advance. We also have, if we're going to, another way to do this. This is what this would be for. And another way to deal with this is to simply glue your stuff down that you're going to want to do in advance to tell whatever your story might be. Now, that's concrete we'll get rid of. If we've got this, and our centerpiece would be there. Okay. So yeah, as you can see, I'm sort of trying to set a basic idea scene to it. We have some just extra wood to go in when it's going. We have the actual fire that we would come back and paint. I'll leave that one out because we might, well, I don't know. Doesn't matter. We'll go with it. First on the hard stuff. There we go. Has that got enough to, yeah. And I don't know what happened to John. John's working on a job this week. We have a contract that's going on right now to do Doom figures again. This is from their first Doom. We do them for their Bethesda store. So I think that's what he said John's doing. I don't know, he missed his call today. So we've done that, and then we'll use some of this. Yes, it would. Pin drag, you're right. It would. It would. I don't have one. I should get one. That's a good idea. I'll get that for next time. It will. Now, the only issue with a hairdryer is you generally want to start on the softer side. First off, don't use a heat dryer like you would get from Home Depot. Those things get really hot and they would melt your plastic and stuff like that. So, but if you do use a hairdryer, start on the lower settings and just work your way up. You don't want to warp your plastic. You don't want to... stuff times, if it dries too fast, it'll tend to warp or pop off or chip. Any number of options are there. Now this stuff should dry, I mean, pretty quick. This particular material, we were using it on the trebuchet. So I'm sort of taking three different approaches here on how we get to this, but we're all going to end in the same place. Okay, and this one we would treat much more like just a diorama, a large piece we're going to paint in mass. So sometimes less is more. Here's this is another subject, and this is all really up to you. To add chaos, all of the wood ended up on this side, all the rocks ended up on that side. If that bothers you, you can easily just turn around and move some stuff to have something that's just randomly sitting over here and leave the rocks. It doesn't matter. That's back to your taste and what you're trying to set is the tension. You do want to watch out, though, in setting things out too symmetrically. It's not pepperoni on a pizza. We're not trying to cover it. There he is, has Reaper John. No. We were just going. Although, unless you've got some figures ready you'd want to show that you're working on the Doom pieces, you could bring those up and we can show them real quick. We did, what's the backstory of that is, and these are already, yeah, they're drawing pretty quick, is we did the Doom figures back in the 90s. And so Bethesda, somebody there said, well, we want to do a set of them. So we said we'd do one set. and that was all we'd ever do. And I guess John could tell us how many sets were later. He runs that project. It's but a lot of sets. They just keep ordering. We keep doing them. That's what we do. Well, I didn't think it was going to take him that long to go get my dust, but anyway, let me mix this one together so we get ready for that part. Now, using the two of them together will give you, it's really subtle, but it depends on how you want to apply it. As I said at the beginning of the show, I put in here both the soda and the powder, okay? And the way we're going to apply this is you can do it with paint, which I'll show you how I do that, or you can do it with dull coat. There's a lot of different ways. It just really depends on the effect, or you can use a brush on to get to it, things like that. Now, as you'll notice, like when you're playing with this stuff, you can get these snow drifts, these spots, and if I could turn it sideways, I want you to see there is some depth to that. There we go. There we get a reflection there. And so you're getting these. That can be created back on top of this right here when we set it all into place. I'm just going to put this on here for an example. In that corner is anything that would cause it to vibrate, you can tap it. You want to control tap onto the table and cause it to come out. But what it's building is that curve, that drift there that looks like it's an air-created drift. And that's what helps you solve the stuff out. I'm trying to think. I really don't have it. There's something I can. Let me use this. So I can play with it, move it around. And so you can see how it's sort of played out like that. And that's perfectly fine, and we can just fix it. But generally what you're going to have to look for is how I would put paint down and do that. When he gets up here, I'll show you the different assemblies. Back to this. I can show you here. Here we've dried, okay, obviously, and here we're wet. So, is that him? I think I can hear him coming up the steps. Dad, we have thunder. So, I don't know which way to go. There we go. I hear him shaking it. So now, if I wanted to, I could paint. This, I just put the stuff all over the place. But if I wanted to, what I would do, if I had a pattern I wanted to draw, I could draw it with that paint. The linear lines, whatever I'm wanting to do. And in fact, we'll go ahead and do that. There he is. Perfect timing. We'll let that continue to dry.
By the way,
I did not find the stuff that's in your office. That's Collins's.
Oh, okay.
But that's fine.
Even better. We'll steal his. All right. By the way, I don't know if y'all caught this. Testers itself is going out of business. So, yeah.
Did not know that.
I've got some extra cans. We use a lot of it, but we use it so infrequently. I got maybe a couple of dozen cans. I'm going to make the assumption that somebody with a popular thing like this is going to pick that formula up. Somehow, somewhere, we're going to end up with dull coat at the end. I'm not ready to run down and buy them out, but, there's obviously going to be on the horizon a disruption. Okay. Let me see the best way to illustrate this. Hey, sir. Oh, you got him? Come on in. Come on in.
There's a whole computer here.
Yeah. He's setting that one up for Proctor's chime-ins. Oh, okay. Well, here, I'll put him over here, and you can start talking. We have John here. Is he not mic'd up? Get a mic. There it is. There. We'll wait till you get mic'd up.
I'm a professional. Check the batteries on it for me.
Okay. So.
3 batteries. Yeah, you're good. Hello, everyone.
All right.
So I was actually just working, and I just kind of lost track of time.
So anyway, I'll put these over here, and then you can describe what we're looking at. This is the Mancubus. Yeah. I remember that. They carry these, out of this edition, carry the 2013 copyright with Bethesda Software, which goes back to, obviously 2013, but I don't remember what set they originated from. But this is what you're doing, so give them a chance to...
Yeah, the one on the left is one that I just finished cleaning yesterday, and the one on this is step 2 essentially of like 8 steps. The Mancubus on the right is the finished product, what it'll look like at the very end once it's all done and everything. It's been sealed and everything, so it's all been lacquered and
what we're doing here, or what he is doing, is I say we're so easily, we are we use a phlorboric acid is the actual subject, and it's not it's a very you can stick your hand in it. It's not like a movie acid burning through everything, but it's an oxidizer for white metal. So he turns the figure dark, and then you go back in with effectively scrub bright
polishing
pads.
wheel.
A polishing wheel made up of those little bright pads, I guess, or whatever, but that kind of material. And then he polishes off. It hits all the high areas and leaves all the low areas. And so there he is.
Also,
his fun.
Nomad. No, you have to get them directly from Bethesda.
Yeah, we don't. Yeah, we don't sell them. They come in a kit. Oh, we don't have a box up here, but we box it up. We produce it all on there, and our name's on the box. That's why I didn't think it's not going to be a big deal talking about it. But you have to go to Bethesda Works, their store, online store, which is where you'll find them.
And it takes me to make 100 sets, it takes me about 2 weeks.
Yeah.
I could do it probably in a week, but I have other stuff to do as well, so.
Yeah. A lot to cover.
Yeah.
Yeah, so anyway, this brings back a lot of memories from G and just the first job we did for, at that time, GT Interactive is we had to produce 20,000 Cyber Demons. That was a lot. And so anyway, to catch you up, now what's what we're here before
I was watching.
Accidentally get junk on that.
Or listening.
Yeah. So if you're needing a light dusting or a heavy, it doesn't really matter, but a nice uniform dusting, I can put my hand out like that's really, you can see me talking with my hand. That's what the dull coat's good for. So what I would do, if I want to do it, is I'll go over here and I'll just give a quick spray. And now what I'm catching here, now dull coat works because it's an evaporative, it's not an actual paint. And so then I'm going to pour all of this on here. But then I'm going to just literally run across, like so, this surface. And as you can see, I'm leaving all of this dust here, kind of a thing. If that's the effect you need, that's how you would be able to get that effect. And then you could just go back and add if you want to get more uniform. And this is just for dusting. This is like really light, obviously. We're not going to get any chunkier any more than that. And this would work like in a sci-fi setting, or you got tar on the road or a tarmac. Just all of these, there's a lot of different versions of this. But what's going to happen is this is going to now stick to that, and then we're going to give it a little while to dry here, which is actually pretty quick. We'll rub our edge to keep it nice and trim. And then what I'll do is I'll come back with some more dull coat, which you can see in that camera, and really just from a distance here, give it just a light to it.
And this is the baking powder?
This is a combination of both the powder and the soda.
Got it.
Because they'll both act differently. That was sort of the cool thing about them. If you're wanting that fresh snow thing, you would use more of the powder. It gives you a good powdery kind of thing. Now, another trick is, even when you've got it like this, especially if you're building a sci-fi one, I made one before I did it, and I've already lost it. Probably used it as a stirring stick. Oh, here it is in here. I did. Okay.
Swillow said, won't baking powder turn soda, or baking powder and soda turn yellow over time?
Do they?
He's
I don't
asking.
know. I don't know. Not that I've seen. But anything, it depends really going to probably be, if it does, it would have to be because it's a chemical reaction. But if you leave anything in the sun, that will oxidize and change, so I don't know. I've probably never kept anything long enough to know. I'd have to go dig it out.
Yeah, Castmania basically insinuated the same thing.
Yeah, it won't yellow after time.
Oh, okay. Well, then get it to the contest really quick. And don't eat the snow. So anyway, what I've done here is carved in a, and also too, instead of this, you could also go back with actual flock snow. They do make that. And that works as well, and that probably doesn't turn yellow.
Someone says you can add a little bit of blue paint, and it helps counter that, Silverthorn says.
Oh, really? So anyway, I've actually carved in the bottom of this a very, very crude foot heel. Or here's my heel, here's the uppercut, and here's the front of the sole of the shoe, so to speak. And you could go back in and put these, if I can get it to work right, and give the illusion of footsteps in your equation as you're coming across. And it's sort of hard, again, it's hard to tell, you just got to look at it. But this is what you're going to have to, this is what you can end up with. If I'd done it sooner when it was still wet, you would get more detail of the shoe shape itself that was there. Let's see if I can get a better one down here. Yeah, more like that with a little bit more on the length. So you can do that. Or monsters. I called a paw out of another piece. Of course, I can't find it. Oh, another one I used as a stir stick. So up here, I've just called in a set of paw. And again, you get the same effect. You know, you just go in and hit it. Although this is getting really dry, so it's not going to work. But don't forget to do things like that as you're going into it. Now, that's one way to get it on if you're wanting it to work like that. Now, another way is with the paint itself. And this is, the ice. We'll do the ice last. We'll just go with this tan yellow. Darker or a wetter brown obviously would work better. Maybe we can get a little bit more into this.
Some live mixing.
Yeah, too much.
Looks like it's just all black there.
Yeah, I just went way too much black. Oh, we'll put, yeah. No, you keep mixing colors and you always end up with gray and purple.
Now what is this, Ed? This is how many parts black and how many parts orange? Yes? Is that the answer? Okay.
Yeah.
Eyeball it.
Eyeball it. That actually ends up coming, actually is a good muddy color. So anyway, just like you would do with flock, if you were just going to flock a base, you could do the same thing here with this snow. But the nice thing is when you're doing this effect, or using it like that, we're going to catch the brown underneath and the black. And we'll come back and see if we can get it to dry a little bit. We'll show you on the other one. All right. Sort of as you saw before, we can go back, but let's get some more. What's this soda? Yeah, that's got more of a granular structure to it. And it's a little bit finer, so less clumpy. Come on. There we go.
Ed,
Yes.
why do I feel like you came up here just to make a giant mess?
Yeah.
I do every week.
That's his goal.
That's his goal,
That's my goal. Okay. So we get sort of the same effect now, but we have the brown under there. It's going to hit. But while it's cold, I'm not cold, while it's wet, this would be where, because we have more paint under it, that you can come through. And you can actually, I'll see if I can get him in the mirror. If you make whatever you want your impression to be, feet or whatever, it's going to push through to the paint. It'll come back up. But also, too, you'll get some depth. See if I can get some of that in the camera here. It's hard. I have to get better cameras. But like that one right there, if I get it sideways, it's not going to work. But I'm actually getting some push down in it. I'm getting what would actually easily be called depth. Now, if I'm actually going to paint a base and I want to do it, let's see. Let me find another brush to ruin here. Okay. We're not going to make it the brown, but anyway, there's our black. We've just got some paint. And we're going to put the paint on, and we've got it on the base. And generally, you're going to want to put it in there pretty thick. And then what I will do is come back in with just a brush and just grab chunks of it and just apply it straight on there till I get it to, because this allows you a lot more control, and you've put the paint only where you're going to want the paint to stick, and or for this stuff to build up. And now the reason I showed you this one last is we're not going to tap it off immediately. The assumption is we've put this stuff all over the base where we wanted it to stick, and we'll put this on. Now the moisture from the paint will actually come through and sort of grab more chunks of it, things like that, as it dries. So once we know that it's had time to dry, we haven't pressed in it, we haven't done anything. Again, if you want to, you can do your little foot stompy thing, or whatever you're trying to do, whatever you want stomping through it. And here you'll get a little bit more pressure in it, a little bit more foot looking. So we let that dry, and we go, and we'll just let that go, and hopefully at the very end we'll blow that off, and it'll show you the clumps and the chunks. It'll go. Let's go back to, all right, this one. Okay, mud for me, or the ice is really, or slush, has always been, need something to mix in.
I've seen people use a lot of PVA glue and like mixing it with flocking and things like that.
Oh, you can do, yeah. Another trick, which we're not doing here, is like, if the easiest thing, if you've got a recession you want to fill on a base, and you just want to get it level and built up, and you also want some flock, is just take this stuff and mix it straight in with flock, flock in it and paint it in there. And a lot of times with the white glue or the PVA, is it wants to contract and soak in and all of that and leave holes and all that. But if you'll mix flock in it, and it turns it into sort of a mortar, and you just trowel it in there, level it off, get it the way you want it to be when it dries, that's exactly how it's going to look. And it will dry because all those filaments are in there.
Yeah, because I was wondering if you could mix the baking soda with PVA glue and then paint it onto the base and all that stuff.
All these bottles are empty. Do we have one with water?
One behind you, yes.
Oh.
We need a water boy.
Yeah. All right. Now this would be the same thing as before.
Thanks for the host, Trollord Games.
There we go. Way too much water.
Oops. For those who can't see, he just dumped that straight on the table.
Yeah. Still real watery. Let me get this off and add some more glue to it. Hey, I'll clean it up when I'm done. He's over there huffing.
Well, no, I just saw you like you went to go move your brush and you
Flinged it
glue.
everywhere.
Yeah.
Good old PVA glue.
Yeah.
A lot of PVA never killed anyone.
Yeah.
Thanks. Well,
The next person that has to show up here is going to get stuck to the seat.
Stuck to the seat, yeah. Okay.
Rest in peace, brushes.
So for me, then there's sort of a twofold thing here. So people have slushed, they've gone along, they've mixed it in, and then this is actually, see, it's still not enough glue. This is where the little dropper bottles, droppers would come in handy. Yeah. A little bit better.
Our literal hero.
Okay. Now, we didn't have all of the effects to be able to do it and take the time, but I would put under there various shades of brown, all sorts of stuff, because this stuff dries almost clear, okay? If not totally clear. It should be thicker, but we can come back on and add some more here in a second, depending on what we're going to do. Yeah, see, it's bubbling. Shouldn't bubble either.
I was going to ask if those bubbles go away when it dries, but
They will.
Kind of looks like frothing, like water frothing.
Yeah.
Hey, Jacob Jansen.
yeah. Hey, how you doing, Jacob?
I saw your koalas that you sent to Planer. They looked good. Awesome paint jobs. Also, we got your business cards here. They look awesome as well.
Yeah, I think they've already got them down there in the internet.
You could also paint like blue underneath.
Yeah,
and
you
things
can
like
put water. You can do anything you want. And you can mix, like right here, I can pull back. If I play with it long enough, I'll pick up some brown that's still sort of wet, and it can mix that into it. Again, it's your mud area where they've been walking, and it all gets mixed together. And so you would have, let's say this is your track that goes off. They're a walkthrough. Yeah. It's funny how if they mix it, mud and ice turn into almost a gravy consistency. It's amazing if they just keep troweling it. It's an army marching through.
Casmania asked if we're going to save these so we can show them off next week once they fully dry.
Yes, yeah, oh yeah, definitely.
I think the plan is to eventually try to put everything in with Josh's stuff. That'd be pretty cool.
Yeah. So, now, as this dries, what I would be doing is I would let this get to attack, and then I'd come back along here and using just my paint and I'll just simulate it. We'll go with Explosion Orange.
Was that the name of that color?
This one is Explosion Orange.
Oh, wow, I didn't know that.
Well, it's not the paint that I was going to use, but yeah.
It's an awesome name.
Maybe without a palette, right? But it'll make for a nice contrast. It's a good soil color. If you're in Oklahoma, it's definitely the color of the dirt.
How long does it take PVA to dry?
With this much water, no idea. Generally, though, it's pretty quick. It has to air dry. This is why you can't have it very thick. I'll use some. That one's got some still left in it. The thicker you make it, it'll get to a. You can, if you put it on too thick, there'll be a section that just won't dry. And that's why you can sometimes, if it's been on there real thick, you can still peel off like it's silicone, because it's an air dry. It's not a chemical dry. So you've got to try and work with it and outsmart it in a way. That's why if you add a material to it, like flock, well, flock is foam. So if you make a mixture out of it real quick and do it, it'll dry hard as a rock.
Yeah. Riggs Raccoon said a long time with that much water.
Yeah, that's what I said. I don't know with this, a long time.
No, Panache. I didn't name that one. I've only named one paint since I've worked here, and it was awesome.
Who's Panache? Is that
someone in chat?
Oh. So anyway, assuming we have this walkway and I've let it get tacky, and I'm going to push it in. This is where you come back with this, and then like you saw me before, take the dry brush. That one's dry. Make sure. Did I use it? I bet I did. I used it. It just got a little tack to it. And this is where you're going to pull it back out like this and drop it in. And obviously, I'm trying to work in a very large scale so you can see it, but this would be like on a base or two. You know, you don't have to try and... This is the end result.
Hey, you bug lips and Zambies. And this is kind of like the snow that's on the edges.
Yeah,
that's not slushed
in. Yeah, it hadn't been slouched on. And then I would just get and again, you're going to work with a lot of brushes. These are your old retired junk stuff. And if you don't have old retired junk stuff, then just go to the store and buy the cheapest craft brushes you can find. There's always a paint club here every Saturday. And so there's a huge yellow tin. I go down, I just grab a handful of them because they're all DOA. But anyway, at this point, now this is where you just have to get in and start playing with your magic or this type of thing. Is you're going to pull this in and sort of play with it and get it to mush up and do what you want it to do. Now, just remember, when this dries, it's going to look like wet snow or melted snow that is refrozen.
Like a puddle-ish?
Yeah. That's sort of where we're going with that. And you can build your regular shapes. You can put it out. You can do whatever. We'll see these next week. Kind of a...
And you would kind of try to... It's probably going to be a higher depth on the outside, like where you are now with your brush.
Right.
And then the pool will be lower, like
Yeah.
it's been pushed down. And
well, that's sort of the thing. You're turning it into almost a dough in a way with all this stuff, kind of a thing. So I would just continue to sit there and play with this material here and this stuff here, which is almost like instant dry for it, and sort of pick out what it is I want to have happening to emulate. So over here it's still real liquidy. I've got no problem. I can play with it. I just bring that over. You know, but if it's all messed up, it's because people have been marching through it or whatever it is you want it to be. But again, this is the path. This would be a path for a 2-rank deep army to march through. I'm thinking more along the lines of a small base, an individual base here. But I would sit here and play with this and mix that in and get what I want out of it. And it really, oh, I forgot to say this. What we're looking for, this is not the final effect. This is simply the shapes and how much and what I want, where I want it to be. the clumps of snow like that. So, you know, I can just take it off the end of the brush and roll it. And this is just the junk as you're crunching along. I really can't find the right words. Kind of a thing.
Hashtag crunching along.
Yeah, there we go. So as you can see here, I've got this discolored snow chunks that are now the same color of whatever dirt color I've applied. And it said I'll use a couple of different shades because as this stuff dries, you want it to see through it because there's going to be all sorts of stuff. So these chunks are still real. See, I can sit here and poke them. They're all nice and mushy. They're all going to dry. Whatever tool gets you to whatever you need to be. And that's what we're looking for is this sort of transition area. This is where the traffic's been. This is what you're doing, stuff like that. So that's going to be your nasty whatever. If you want to, now on your first fallen snow, if you want to say that, this is okay, this is one of the last stuff. This stuff here will dry, I'll do it up here, like this, okay? Because when it dries on there, it's going to contract down, but it has that rounded corner edge we're looking for. But it's going to be a little bit more pronounced. So if that's the case, I would go definitely with the soda only. Let me dump it over here. Now the snow, it has more of the crystalline structure and it's more of the powder, this kind of stuff. I'm sitting here just knocking around, try y'all can see it, kind of a thing. Now what I'll do is dump it on top of this area here, and then we'll let it sit for just a few minutes and let it go, and then we'll knock it back off. If assuming it left, but it should be tacky enough to still pick up. Yeah. So now what I have, let me turn it sideways, on top of that glue mixture. Oh man, I hate that when it washes out on my screen. So there we go. So now you can see we're getting this effect, which is, you know, more of there's a depth to this whole thing. And it's not a complete coverage, which is when I would have put the glue down, I would have left these holes, either scraped them out. In this case, they naturally formed because I had too much water. But you could wash them out and it'll come back. But all we're doing is taking that edge there that you see here, and now we're just covering it with a powder. And that's how you could get on your things those sort of just drift that sits like it's on top of whatever rocks, the base. Okay. And that gives you, I'm going to keep rotating it till I can find that spot again. There we go. And so you have this. Now you can come back in on top of this if this was dry, and again, add more glue on top of this, and then once you've got, but you want to obviously do when it's dried, and when you're pulling it on, then you're going to turn around and you want it to be washy like that, and you can build another drift, and you can build another, you know, it's really, you're only limited by your imagination. But again, painting this, if this had an ice blue on the bottom here, this could be the edge of a lake. You know, I just did this mess, was just more of a marching through, or you know, to an adventure party going through the snow. Or that person itself, a tracker, could be down on his knee looking, trying to figure out what marched through here, monster-wise or whatever. And this stuff will tell you, you've got a lot of play time here. Because this stuff here, it's still all, trying to get to where you can see it.
Tilt it towards you, yeah.
Yeah, there we go. So it's still got a lot of mushiness to it. It's just a matter of going in and putting whatever you want to do inside of this, and then there's your transition, and then you can come back in and if you want it to be smooth, things like that. I'm already seeing where I'm going to get some color of this color through this snow. As it's being soaked up and going in, I can already see a slight shift in the color right here. They were talking about earlier. It's amazing though, where it's dry down here on the bottom, it's staying perfectly white. Let me see if I guess in this, yeah, there we go. You can see right up here. And that's hence why you would, that's why also too, when I said on that other piece, this one over here, we would let it sit for a while. You want it to go ahead, what's happening here, and this is an effect if you want to have it, is this is now soaking up through, and since it's getting up there, there's still more room for it to catch, more moisture for it to absorb. So patience is your game there. And if you just let it set like that overnight, it'll get all you can get, but when you blow it off and knock it off, it should be white. Because it's absorbed everything I can, and it'll have its top layer left. So, and it's actually built up just by putting that on there, this moisture that's coming through here. So, and again, even when you have a chunk like this, it's all just whatever, you just play with it. And when you see a direction you're seeing good, you go back with it. So now we've got a lot of just chewed up snow. There we go. So there's all our big chunky chewed up snow from maybe a prior snowfall, and now we've got another one on top of it, and then you can put, again, whatever story you're wanting to tell, that's what you could get into. Now, on top of, where did that one go? Here it is. Let's go back to this base. Okay, we can still see the PVA is there and stuff like that, but these are all getting there. They're staying where they're going to stay. So at this point, this is where you can start going in and actually doing this, and this would be a substantial, you're going to get into some work here, but you could do this. Now, again, if you'd paint all of this stuff in advance and do it, and you want a light dusting, that's back to using the dull coat. And then that just gives or paint the areas you want dusted. Like if you only want it on a rock, don't hesitate. I'm running out of brushes here. There's another one. Let's get some color. Again, if you want it to be thick, you could use some glue like that. And we'll paint that one. Just a couple of daubs like that. Maybe a little hanging off the edge. And then get it to sit for a second so it builds up its edge and all that kind of stuff. And then just go in and drop right on top of it. Let it sit for a while, let it dry. And then when you come back and knock it off, you've now got, let me get it where you can get it again. There we go. Needs some shade. You can see now I have snow here and here. You see, so it's not really a hard effect. Snow's not going to be a hard effect to play with. You just got to sit down, and before you actually do your final model too, like if you're wanting this on the base, I'd sit down and play with all this stuff and get used to it. Now this stuff here, we are going to be using a lot of that stuff. What's wrong? Is there something in the way?
No, just keep doing it.
Okay. Over time. There's so much that we will do with it for terrain, especially when we move to buildings, to working with wood, things like that. I'll have for next week though, because this is actually, it's actually starting to get pretty dry. But we aren't going to have a time. I would have to say this would be ready in a few hours. But I bet with a hairdryer we could get it to knock it off and be using
You
it.
still have your foot stick to put footprints in? I think the
Oh yeah,
footprints
yeah.
look
If
really
somebody's
good.
asking, yeah, this would be another one in this trowel type thing. Let me get the one that had the paw prints too. I've just carved these in reverse on a piece of balsa wood in 5 seconds, so I don't know what they'll look like. Now, let's see here.
I turned off the actual built-in light on that camera, Ed, so you should be able to show stuff off a little better.
It's not making it look as good. It's not much of a contrast, but you can, if I get here and pull it up, I can get more of a, it's because it's really, I should have done it. If we were going to do it in this material directly, we should have done it when it was a lot. Because you can see now, before we were using this stick and we were just going around. Now, as you can see, I mean, if I want to get into it, I can move some stuff like that, but it's a lot drier than it was. But it's still not dry enough for us to use in paint and things like that.
That one looks good.
This would be your undersurface. So your first step would be to build your ground you're going to want. Then the next effect would be to attach the stuff. I was sort of breaking this up so we could see it all and keep going. I would attach the items I want on here after it's done. And the nice thing about it is if wherever you want to attach, this stuff, as we saw earlier, you can take it off pretty quickly or pretty easily, and make sure you can go down to your underbelly. We'll know next week. We'll see how easy this stuff is to just knock off on a plastic base.
Can you build it up, like to build like hills and?
No, I wouldn't do this with hills. This wouldn't be what I would use. Well, you could if you're using an old railroad technique, which is, and they look good if you do what you're doing. But they would take a wooden frame and put poles down for the elevations they want. And then they would take like a fly screen off of your, okay, and then you would just drop some tacks in, and then that would build your elevations. And now you have this screen there, then you could trowel this stuff on top of it.
Yeah.
And go through and then paint it.
So it's really lightweight.
This is a very lightweight when you use it. We have some terrain boards in storage that I'll go back that we can pull out and look that have some really cool techniques. That a couple of them too. I want to go back and see if I can figure out how to do. There was that one there. They built that shoreline. Sanded grout to experiment along with the drywall compound. Hills would be fun to see. We can do, there's a lot of way to tackle hills. If I wanted a slight mound in here, I don't want this to be flat because again, it's not Oklahoma, right? So if I wanted to have anything in there, I would take some small styrofoam and then I would whittle it. Now the styrofoam you would want to use would be, if they still use it, I used to go down to a florist and they sell this really dense green styrofoam. It's not like the white stuff you get out of packing. That's what they would call an open cell or a coarse cell. And this is really tight. But what it allowed you to do is both push into it and carve away from it a little bit to get the shape you'd need.
Yeah, it's really crunchy, if I remember correctly. You can like squeeze it.
Yeah.
Florist foam.
I guess, go down to the florist and get some foam. They also make a thing called memory foam. I've played with it where you can actually sit there and carve in your design and then, I don't know what you do to it, and then it turns it hard and you go. But nonetheless, it's a lot of us working on Holes water. So that's anyway, a lot of this is just whatever you're going to need to do, but you could do that would be a good execution. Now, also too, we haven't played with it yet, but we will, is cork. Cork is an amazing thing to work with. If you wanted to have this on a ledge, like right here, this half here was a ledge, and you had the undergrowth, and they had the little fire, and whatever your story you're trying to tell, cork will be something.
Yeah, we have a piece in the gallery that we can show up next Tuesday that has a bunch of cork on it.
In it. And but anyway, cork's real good. In fact, too, what we'll do is I'll dig some stuff out of the gallery where they have used various materials to help tell the story, which is really what you want. We're not totally flat knuckle. Well, that's true. I know you do. We're not all like the Texas Panhandle. Now it is flat there. You get out past that, and that's really the thing. You watch the old westerns, and they all have those mesas and the really desert and all that, and you really don't see that till you get to New Mexico. But it gets flat out near Lubbock for sure. So.
Yes,
that's another one, huh? What?
The diorama that Rings made. If he's in chat, he can correct me. But I believe the ghosts that he made, that he sculpted, were out of tinfoil and green stuff.
Oh yeah, that one that Dave got or picked. Yeah, we'd have to go look at that.
Yeah, I believe in the progress shots, I think it was all kind of the shape he got with tinfoil.
There's really, with the glue, with the trowel, this stuff. There's so much you can do. We needed a whole line of. In fact, they're down in the gallery, but they've not aged well. Is a set of undeads charging on horses. I forgot what we had to have it for. It was a background and a photo. So I knocked them all together, but they were all just skeletons. So they needed to have their tabards, all that stuff go. And so I just used paper towels and toilet paper and draped it all over there, and then used water, PVA water, draped it down, painted it. It looked really good. Is one florist foam. Smithers Oasis, huh? So anyway, that's where we are. And then next week, what we can do with this dry is we can play with it a little bit more and go from there. Let's see, we had that one that we were going to knock off. Oh, that was where I dumped my stuff.
Yeah.
Okay. So anyway, and like in this one here, this is the thick paint, and I just thumped it like that to get it to come off. And so you can get, again, whatever you're looking for, you have to decide, and then that's what we would go with. This looks like, to me, a very good melted snow, where we've had the sun's been out, but it wasn't enough to knock it out, and now we're moving into night, because it definitely has very much a vertical kind of appearance to it, kind of a thing. So
the mounds, you would probably be like a tree got too heavy and it dumped all its snow down. And you have a huge pile.
Any number of things. Anything can happen. So anyway, that's it for this week. We will continue next week. We'll visit back. I haven't decided what we're going to do next week. We'll obviously continue with something, with the trowel and things like that. Probably play with these a little bit more, and we might look at structures back to. But I think for sure what we're going to do is get some stuff out of the gallery. That would be
to show off.
Tree bark works real well, but it's also too is getting it small enough. You need to find the pieces of wood where they've aged down into really small to fit our scale. They need to look like a full-size fallen tree stump that's aged out. Put the camera back down real quick. Like this one here looks like a shattered tree stump that is fallen. but it's of the size. I guess Mr. Forescale. Y'all have changed the table up here. What happened to Forescale?
He's to your. There's two of them. There's one that's blue, and then there's that one.
So it needs to be of the kind of to his scale. What would a large piece be? Of this not driftwood, because it's not next to the ocean, but nonetheless, that's when you're looking for this stuff. You want to definitely find it when it's really just rotted out and go in there and dig deep.
I've seen a lot of people use tree bark for rocks. So you just take a piece of bark, lay it down, prime it,
and dry brush it.
And it looks just like a natural rock.
Yeah. So right now, there's a lot more. As I've started to get back into this, I started looking around, and there's really just a lot of stuff to go play with out on the market that's pre-made. Vallejo has some stuff. A lot of people have a lot of stuff that is just straight out of the thing. And I've tried a few of them. I know mud sticks were a unique idea, and that was Tamaya did those, and so I got some and played with it. And it's really just it's a neat effect. You put it on, you grab it, it leaves chunks of whatever's there, but it's almost like a grease pencil is what the consistency is. But then when it dries out, it dries like this stuff here. It's almost like a colored version of this putty, this stuff. So, yeah, when you start getting into terrain, you start looking at everything in a whole different way. Walking through the hardware store is really tough. Just walking in nature. You'll find little tiny twigs, and you'll realize that would be the perfect size for a log that's split to be able to do what I need to do with it. Yeah. So.
All right, Ed. Do you want to talk about the shows we have the rest of this week?
No.
As we do our sign off. Oh,
no,
okay.
that's John's.
Oh, well, today is Tuesday. We're wrapping up Ed's show. This will be the last show for today. Tomorrow we will be back with Ann at 11 a.m. It's our Reaper Toolbox, and she's here every morning at 11, Monday through Thursday.
Put the graphic up.
And she does specialty stuff like, let's say Monday she wants to do eyes, and then Tuesday she wants to do non-metallic metal. So she does hyper-focus things like that. And then tomorrow, Wednesday, is Ann's double day. So you'll see her tomorrow at 11. And then at 3, she'll be back. I think, is she still painting the Dance of Death, Justin, I believe?
Right, for the...
Yes.
I believe she's starting to wrap it up. So the Dance with Death will be done soon.
And so Dire Cup, really, just keep playing with it. There's no wrong way to do any of this. And as you go along, you'll going, oh, that's cool. I got to remember that. Yeah. And Pendrake, I tell you what, my brother's a big Stalag. Dave's a big Stalag, Hogan's Heroes. I'll go watch some of his down there, and I'll look at that guard, the tower. You want the tiny guard shack. Is it the one that's where the car drives by, or are you wanting the one where they have the tower with the spotlight? Which one are you wanting to build? Pendrake. Is he still there?
Pendrake TG.
It's including me in the raid today. Woo. Okay.
Glenn, I'm waiting to move. I'll be moving next month, and I'll be streaming a lot more. So.
All right, guys.
Where are you moving to?
Louisville.
Oh. Yeah, he's moving just down the road, basically.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right, guys.
The red and white one. I will look for that then.
Also, if you guys want more channel points, stay around for the raid. If you guys stay for the raid, you get more channel points.
Now, also, too, real quick, we can find us where? On
Facebook, Discord, Twitter, Instagram, everywhere. Facebook.
Everywhere.
It's all
Twitter,
there.
Yes. I mean, Twitch, well, the one we're on.
Pretty much all social medias, almost all of them were there.
Yeah.
Not LinkedIn. I don't know. So
the little one-man rain shelter. I'll look. I'll watch. I'll see. I think that would be fun. All right. So anyway, guys, y'all take care. We will see you Thursday night. And of course, we'll be able to start the show off and going, oh, my God, it's been such a busy week. So what do we have for a raid?
We are raiding Captain
Mad Love.
Oh, wow. Good,
she just finished her Dance with Death.
And Facepalm.
She did.
I don't know what she's working on now, but...
It looked like a not GW piece.
She's working on a Tau army, I believe, if I remember correctly.
Oh, really? Who is Ann?
No.
Captain Mad Love.
Oh, okay.
So you guys go spread the love. We'll be back tomorrow. Enjoy.
We will see you later.
See you guys later.
Be safe. That's the big thing.